Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? This is BC. Welcome back to another episode of Supreme Being. I wanted to give a huge shout out to Modern Success, my coaching program. Huge shout out to Team BC. We are exploding nationwide. I just featured them recently on my Instagram with an actual post, and I lost track, man. But we're just making so many sales, selling so many homes. Adding new people in different states. We're in Oregon now again. Like it is really cool to see this come to fruition. It really is. So shout out to everybody, my coaching members, right? My team and everybody who's been supporting the podcast Supreme Being. Okay. So let's get into it. First and foremost, I have a very particular topic for you today. I'm going to attack it from two angles. I know it's going to be very beneficial for you. Right. And it's funny. I just have one comment to make before I get into the nuts and bolts of the lecture and the podcast. It cracks me up how emotional people are, right? I understand that like on my social media, because of what's been happening in the world the last 18 months, I speak on particular things. I speak on my distrust for the government, these false narratives being pushed around with this, this virus that has totally befuddled, the human populace, and it has people divided. A lot of people are confused, but it's just funny to see how somebody who maybe doesn't know what I know or has been, manipulated emotionally or has a different viewpoint for whatever reason and their perspective, they can't see it, get so upset with me that now reality to them is blinded, right? Like people pretending because I talk about the government, like I'm not doing good in my regular life. Newsflash for those 2 or 3 of you who are listening here. I'm doing better in every fucking category of my life than I've ever done. Happier than I've ever been, making more money than I've ever made. My team is exploding members wise, expansion wise, sales wise. Everything is rocking and rolling. You are the miserable ones, not me. But it's funny that they see it that way. Now we're going to tie this in a little bit here on this lecture, right? That's why I'm bringing this up. It's not going to be a rant. I know some of you love that, but it's not going to be a rant. And sometimes I sit back and laugh because I take this in stride, right? I just laugh when people do this stuff. People disagree on Instagram, YouTube, whatever. I literally just laugh at it because that's the best thing to do. Every once in a while, I'll go back and forth with people, but no matter what's said, how in quotes heated the discussion seems, like I'm good, dude. I'm good. You're not going to see me thinking about it, dwelling on it, getting upset. Like I always have a smile on my face, dude. I'm living my life. I'm loving life. Everything is great. I have 0 things to complain about, a million things to be grateful for, and I'm moving forward doing my thing. And everything that I do is on purpose and from a position of control, which is what they claim. I'm out of control, right? But let's talk about this from 2 fronts. What I want to discuss today specifically, okay, and I love this subject because it's very important, right? And it slips under a lot of people's radar, right? I made a story earlier on Instagram and I said, sometimes you get back and forth with people and let's say there's just a disagreement. We'll keep it simple. And in many cases, if the dialogue continues, the communication goes back and forth. At one point, one of the sides, typically, right? This doesn't always happen. Sometimes there's good and genuine discourse between people and, both parties exit the discourse amicably, right? But in many cases, it doesn't. And it turns into a shouting match and this and that. But basically, when one side has no information, no logic, no rationale, no data, no substance as an argument, it now shifts into like an emotional outburst, a personal attack, and they go after the person irrationally. Okay, it turns into that. So the 2 fronts that I'm going on and coming from today, one is going to be how you can keep your sanity and be able to deal with that like I do, basically on a daily basis, being on social media and be totally cool with it and not have it affect you at all and see it for what it is. But also on the other side, knowing that you're going to experience this in conversations on social media when you're running your business, when you're pushing a product or service, and ultimately it's a dialogue that has to continue, right? Because the second point, it could be you're meeting with a client, like a lot of realtors follow me. And you get to the point, you lay down the facts as an example on the price of the home, and boom, an emotional outburst comes. Or you're presenting all the facts, yet they keep making stuff up and fighting you emotionally with things that aren't rational. Yet you're not just going to eject from that particular conversation. You now have to develop the skill set, not only internally to not let it shake you, but also to move the conversation forward, get their agreement, right? And then get the contract signed, acquire the client, this and that. So that's why I said we're going to attack it from two fronts. And first, I want to start with your own sanity. Okay. And the first point to this one is you need to see it for what it is. You need to see it for what I said in the beginning. When there's nowhere else to go and this person has engaged in a back and forth with you or has made comments and this and that, whenever they resort to personal attacks or bringing up things that are irrelevant, it's because they have no legitimate basis to stand on, no ground to stand on. And when you see it for what it is, your mind's like, of course they're going to attack me, dude. Because the second step to that is you being okay with yourself. I'm totally good here. People can call me names, say I'm a piece of shit, say I'm crazy, or, oh, you're a lunatic now with COVID. I know I'm not. It doesn't matter what you say. The whole world can scream that. That doesn't mean that I'm crazy. I'm good. And I know it. And I demonstrate it. Now, if somebody has an opposing opinion or they're trying to hit me where it hurts or make it sting because they're trying to be spiteful, it doesn't work. Right? It doesn't work. Now, you being okay with you is a lifetime process you have to go through because it's been, years that I've been working on this stuff. And it finally started clicking a couple years ago. That's why I can engage in this stuff and see it on a regular basis, but it doesn't affect me. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. And for those of you listening on the podcast that, follow me closer, right? Maybe you're in my coaching, maybe you're a part of my team listening to this. Maybe you're somebody who has regular contact with me. You know that I'm good, man. You see it and you experience it. You don't just watch one clip on Instagram and one video on YouTube once a month and think, you know me, right? But number three, and this is a point you need to understand, because you may be asking, why do these people do that? Why do they go to emotion? Why do they try to discredit you or personally attack you? Because that's a tactic that's been used. And we've seen growing up that we've fallen prey to, that we now use without really knowing the understanding. And I'm going to explain it to you right now. If I want to basically get people to stop listening to somebody or convince myself that, I don't need to listen to this person anymore, I'm not going to listen to them, right? Basically convince yourself that whatever somebody says doesn't matter anymore. They're always wrong, right? Fill in the blank with whatever you want, whatever you think would be like that biggest, worst thing you can say or think about somebody, right? So what do? You see this a lot in the media and in marketing, right? Think of any, political campaign, think of any marketing campaign where maybe two people are going after each other and the gloves are off. They start really going after each other. What do they attempt to do? It's never like this logical, factual battle. All they do is they attack the character of that individual, corporation, or entity. And what they want to do is to get that person, that entity, that corporation, that thing to a part in your mind where you finally tell yourself, and this is the key, I don't like that person, or so-and-so is a bad person. That's a bad company. Basically, they want you to not like them, dislike them, right? Why? Because growing up, what we've seen, what we were taught, and all that we see around us and all that we know now is whenever there's somebody we don't like, you won't listen to them, you won't study them, you won't learn from them. There's nothing to be had there. Why? Because they're a bad person. And that's the key, my friends. That's why they will do it to you. They want to convince themselves, in this case, if it's like a one-on-one debate online or somebody's trying to smear your reputation, they're basically saying, I don't like you. And because I don't like you now, nothing that you say or do matters. It's all bullshit, blah, 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 fill in the blank with whatever emotional outburst people have told you or stuff that you've heard, right? That's the key. Why? Because if we step back now to what I said earlier about marketing, the moment the consensus is that individual, that corporation, the entity could be a genius dropping knowledge, but individuals are so naive and gullible that now suddenly that information must be false or it doesn't mean anything because so-and-so is a bad person. Like when you stop and think about what I just said, it's pretty idiotic. Okay. Now you've heard me in the past say, I put my differences aside with particular individuals at times, or have studied people that maybe I wouldn't hang out with, or I don't necessarily like, but I know in a particular field, they're smart. So I'm going to listen to them in that. I'm not going to complain and bitch and moan about what I don't like about them or what I don't agree about with them, right? Because that's what we tend to do. We keep cultivating this like negative energy and environment and society. It's sad. But again, all we see around us, the average is people bitching and complaining and gossiping, right? So of course we're going to feed into that because it's the mass consciousness that we see and experience for the most part, not always. But I'm going to go back to that individual and say, you know what? I'm going to put that shit to the side, be mature, use my intelligence, and extract what I can from that individual. Because although I may not like them personally or hang out with them, they're brilliant when it comes to this subject. So I'm going to listen to them, and I might even pay them for that. Why? Because I'm exchanging for the information. I'll do it. I've done it a million times. I don't care. Even though the average person would say, you paid so-and-so, don't you not like him? It's like, dude, that's like level 1 thinking. I'm thinking at level 5 now. Come on, grow up, mature, be an adult. Use your mind, use your intellect. What are we, animals? That's what something an animal would do. I don't like him, I'm going to kill him, right? Even though strategically, if they kept that animal alive, maybe it could help them. An animal can't do that. They don't have the intellect. Their whole modus operandi and their DNA is survive and replicate. That's it. It stops there. So see that for what it is. Now, when you have that understanding of what I just said, that whole side of it internally, it affecting you and all that stuff, it changes. It changes. Now it just drops all that weight off of you and you're like, oh, I figured this thing out. I figured this thing out. Now, I know I'm not naive enough to think that I'm going to change that behavior in the world. No, not going to happen. But I understand it now. So it can't be used against me anymore. And to those around me, because I teach them and I lead. Okay. Now, let's transition now to the second part. And I may do multiple episodes on this, right? Especially if you guys request it. Now we're with the customer, right? We're with the customer. What do we do, right? They're having emotional outbursts and this and that. All right, let's get right into it. Let's say I'm sitting with a client. I give them some information. They blow up, right? It happens. I give them a price on a property. They're like, oh my God, no way. 1 million. That's way too low. The first thing you do is you shut up and let them go off. Let them expend all of that energy. Don't resist it. Don't fight it. Don't try to handle it. Let them go off. Let them go off. Let them go off. And sit there and be patient. Don't get caught up into the drama. Don't start absorbing their energy or getting upset or trying to combat it. Just let them spew. Boom, boom. Let them release that. Right? Because what many salespeople in these situations will do is they'll erroneously start handling an objection when there really isn't even an objection there. They're just unloading a bunch of emotional, irrational, energy. Some people will call it complaining. I mean, whatever you want to call it. It's not an objection, dude. Just having an outburst. That could innately be just their not wanting to accept reality for whatever reason. Maybe the truth hurt so much, and you've heard that saying, the truth hurts. It hurts so much that they have to have this release. That's fine. Don't interrupt. Let them do it. Let them do it. But I always bring it back to the facts. I understand you're upset, Mr. Client. However, taking a closer look now, can you see why, fill in the blank, whatever you're selling, can you see why I suggested XYZ price? Can you see it? I know you don't like it, but can you understand how I came to that conclusion? Now, if they say yes, you've already gotten past that crap pretty much, and you're close to the finish line. They say no, now I can get in a dialogue. Now I can get in a dialogue, and your questions have to clarify and be powerful. Okay? They say no. Great. Where did I lose you? Well, 1 million is just too low. I understand you don't like it. I understand you don't like it. I understand. But where specifically did I lose you when I came to this conclusion? Where? And I want to find out. I have to take them and pull them slowly from their emotional land back to logic and reason. Now, a lot of this is going to be your demeanor and your delivery, of course, and that we refine over time. But it's basically a tug of war at that point between their emotional outbursts and your logic and reason. Who's going to win? What do we normally do? We feed into it. So you basically go to their team and you tug yourself and you lose. But in those cases, I'm unwavering. I will be patient. I will communicate the way that I have to communicate to bring them back to the promised land, which is logic and reason. Why? Emotion and emotional outbursts over time dissipate, meaning that intensity of, I can't believe this. Over time, it's going to lower and lower and lower and lower. And the more you stand firm with logic and reason, the more magnetic you become. Now, the question is, can you hang in there? Can you? I know I can. Can you? Can you? Because if we go back to sales, if we go back to communication, we know questions put you in control, which is why in those moments, more than ever, the quality of the questions that you ask will determine where you go. And that's the key, is in those moments, not get into rambling, not get into explaining, ask powerful, strong, concise questions to bring them back to that promised land, like I said. That's the key. And the ones who are good will be patient and we'll get them there. Why? Because in this instance of us selling, it's not about us. It's not about how we feel or what we want. It's about what they want. So at that point, my duty of getting them to where it is that they want to go in this exchange is senior to how I may feel. If I think that what they're saying is stupid, all that stuff is secondary because I may think that anyway, and that's okay. But again, that's secondary. I have to be able to put that shit to the side, put my big boy pants on, and bring them back to the promised land, which I can do and I trust myself to do every time. And most importantly, it is my duty and obligation. It is my duty and obligation to do that. Okay. In that instance of business exchange, you want a particular result. Now, if it's in your personal life, who cares? Sometimes I let people go off on rants on my pages. I don't care. Sometimes I engage with them. That's your discretion. My thing is, if that makes you uncomfortable, still do it so you can get comfortable doing it. I have no problem handling people or responding or this and that. And again, whatever people think, oh, he's getting triggered. I'm not, dude. You're not that special. You can't trigger me. You can't trigger me, right? I've invited people. Try to trigger me. Go for it. I can line up a room of 10,000 people and bring them up one by one to shit on me on the mic in my face. I'm going to laugh for the hours and hours and hours that people do it. It won't affect me. Why? Because I put myself through much worse and intense situations and moments emotionally that couldn't even stack up to anything close to what I've put myself through, which is a lot of the stuff I've been telling you guys over the years that you have to do. Why? Because it puts you in a position to be able to handle this shit like it's nothing. You know why? Because it is nothing. When you understand that everything that I said in this podcast about this particular dynamic, not only will it serve you to learn more and grow and develop, but it will give you so much more sanity and fulfillment in your life that you'll begin to experience what I've been telling you I've been experiencing for a long time. For a long time. To where all the bullshit they throw at you and everything outside of you, you just know, I understand this. I see it for what it really is. Not a problem. This is a breeze. This life is not difficult. It is easy. Life is not suffering. Suffering is a choice. And I don't choose to suffer. If I do choose to suffer, it's because I put myself in a position to suffer, to learn and get better and grow. Period. End of story. My story. Because that's how I wrote it. That's how I'm going to execute it. And that's how I'm going to see it through. So whether you're dealing with people in business, your personal life, exchanges online, right? Whether it's internally, your own process when it comes to the subject matter, this is the key, my friends. This is the key. Remember what I said earlier about them making it a personal attack and getting themselves or other people to not like you. That is key, man. That is key. That is $1 million piece of information right there, in my opinion. For sure, right? And even the phone agreed, it dinged. So I'll end it here, guys. If you would like another episode on this, let me know. Reach out to me personally. Leave a comment on the podcast. Shout out to Team BC. Love you guys. If you guys are interested, join teambc.com. Modern Success, my coaching program, Tier 1 and Tier 2, BRYANCasella.com. I encourage all of you who listen and really rock with my content to join. Primal Code is another event that I'm doing soon here in Miami and streaming live and sending everybody a recording end of the month in November. We're about 10 days away from it. Also on my website, recommend you sign up. We've had a lot of signups the last 2 or 3 days. But yeah, we'll see you guys on the next episode. Appreciate all the love and support. Peace.